This is the Sunny Side Up podcast.
It is certainly good to hear that theme song. Hey, it's Alan. It is the Sunny Side Up podcast. This is show number 38, and this week we'll not have video for the show on our YouTube channel, but it certainly will be streaming on all the podcast platforms. Angel and Brandon, once again, not able to be here. They had planned on providing the video show for it, but with the virus, COVID-19 thing, things are goofy. We're all well. We are not sick. Everything is fine as far as that's concerned. But the virus has certainly thrown a wrench in the works of our daily routines and our daily plans. And I could give you a laundry list of reasons why they can't be here this week. But somehow we got really lucky and blessed with a special guest this week. And I had a chance to sit down with a guy who's a hero, who's an athlete, and just happens to have COVID-19 right now as we speak. Robert Hamilton Owens has been a radio and TV personality, a minister, philanthropist, triathlete, special ops pararescueman, to name a few. He's competed in 12 Ironman triathlons, awarded the most advanced age ever awarded by SEAL Fit, served for 8 years on the Nevada State Judicial Ethics Committee, 22 years hosting the Fox program Leadership for Changing Times. He's made 5 trips teaching officials in the Vietnamese Department of Foreign Affairs. And Robert is the young age of 66 years old, found out on March 23rd that he had COVID-19 after feeling ill with a 103-degree temperature. Robert's wife, a flight attendant for a major airline, also diagnosed with COVID-19 and is still in quarantine at their home in Newport Beach, California, attempting to ride it out. And so while Brandon and Angel are safe, I'm safe, Robert and his wife are safe, but dealing with the virus. And Robert, I want to start by simply saying thank you for being on the Sunny Side Up show. We appreciate you being on our podcast. This is going to be a special program. Robert, I got to start by asking you, how you doing?
I'm doing good, yeah.
Okay.
I'm on the back end of the thing, and my wife almost through it as well. So I was sort of sick for, let's say, 8 days. The fever was like day 2, 3, 4, and 5. My wife got sick 8 days after I did, and so she's through the fevers as well, and on the backside, now she's just sort of transitioned into a cold, we think, but we're both feeling much better, no fevers, and we've come through it.
Robert, tell me, because everybody has their own description of what the virus is like. For you personally, do we dare compare it to symptoms of the flu, or what would you compare it to? Anything you've ever had before?
Yeah. You know, when you're a kid, maybe measles, mumps, chickenpox, something, you get the flu.
Yeah.
When I haven't had the flu in, 20 years. I can't remember the last time I had the flu. I've had colds, but not a flu. Anyway, you get this achy feeling, and then you break a sweat, and you think, why am I breaking a sweat? So you open the door, and, there's something wrong with me. And then that sweat, begins to increase, and you know that you're not normal. And you just sit around. For me, I sat around for a day and just thought, I wonder what's going on with me. It didn't cross my mind about the virus at all. And then about the second day, you start going to 101, 102. And for me, I said, oh, great, I'm sick. I wonder if it's a coincidence that I feel like I have the flu with all this stuff going on. Anyway, I just began to start going to bed, sleeping, drinking. And the more that my fever would spike, the more I would sleep. And I'd break the fever, wake up pretty much at 98.6 or something. And then 3 or 4 hours later, I'd feel this fever coming back on. And, of course, for me, it was worse in the late afternoons and evening than the morning. I'd wake up in the morning thinking, I'm all right. And then pretty soon you fade again. 3 or 4 days. And I thought, it's not a big deal. It's just a stupid flu.
Yeah.
Come to find out that it was a virus, but you feel, for me, it felt like I just had the flu, and it wasn't a deal breaker. I wasn't scared. I wasn't panicked. I just said, I'm sick, and I'll get through this like I've been through other stuff. So,
right.
But everybody's experience is different.
Right. And so we probably should talk about the fact that first of all, you're in the upper youth group age category. Can I call it that way?
Yes, I got the most advanced age award before.
66 years old, but considered the fittest 66-year-old in the world. 12 Ironman triathlons. The list is huge for you, Robert. So I guess what I'm bringing this up is I'm not talking to somebody that's out of complete shape. You're actually in good shape.
I'm really not the fittest 66-year-old in the world,
Wow.
but it was nice that the Spartan Games founder, Joe DeSena, on his podcast from Dodger Stadium said that I was.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Really, Joe?" He goes, "Yeah, you're the man." I went, "Well, that's nice. If you say that, Joe, that has some equity." So I said, "Thank you very much." But I am a guy that tries to stay in shape. The book is about taking on a challenge at 63 and saying, I wonder if I trained for 3 years, if I could do 4 events of which I was been told I'm too old, and I'm no one at my age should try it, and I'd be the oldest person to ever try it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, the experiment is I want to know if I can grow older and stronger, or do I just have to fade and become frail? And so I took the challenge. I'm going to see if I can get as strong as I was in my 20s and in my 60s as a senior.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took the challenge of, okay, I'm going to do these extreme things if I can, and I'm going to train and see if my body really will respond. And fortunately, it did. I was able to do all 5 and do my 12th Ironman without training and say, wow, we have a lot more potential in us than we think, and there's more in me than I would have thought. And probably for all of us, we can do more than we think we can. We just haven't focused and trained or wanted to do that, whatever it is, bad enough.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be in the game. I'm happy to be, a healthy kind of guy and eat good and sleep good. I'm just fortunate that the doc said to me, because you're healthy, you don't have any pre-existing issues, your body was able to fight this thing off pretty well and get through it, and it wasn't a big deal for you. Not so, he said, with many of his patients. Many of his patients are obese, older, high blood pressure, diabetes, and therefore they struggle a lot more, most likely because their immune system is vulnerable, whereas yours wasn't as vulnerable.
Now, how is your wife doing with it? Is she okay?
Yeah, she's on her 8th day. She doesn't have any fevers anymore.
Okay.
And she's up and eating and talking to her friends on the phone. And she and I both have deep coughs. So when they come, they're just like, wow, I got something in my chest. But it's never affected either of our breathing.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Good. I just wanted to stop and make sure she is okay before we continued on, because and we could probably talk 30 minutes about how bad things are right now, and how scary things are right now, and they are at least scary. I don't know how bad things are, depending on where you are on the face of the planet. But just in reading a little bit about you, Robert, I don't think you're wired to talk about how bad things are all day.
It's taken some work over the years, but I have chosen to not have problems, but have challenges. Problems are negative, and I have challenges which are positive and opportunities. And I like to take my lemons and turn them into lemonade. So I don't really have that kind of thinking of oh my God. Mine is okay. How are we going to find a way to win? And let's beat this like we do other things. And it's fun to be positive and work on mental thinking and your mental discipline of not letting those negative dialogues get in your head. And it takes some work, but it's worked for me.
How do you go down that path of looking at the world with the glass half full, or certainly, and people have used that analogy in a million different ways, but how do you look at the positive when there is so much negative around? What does it take? Is it the beginning of the day? Is it the beginning of the week? What gets the mindset rolling that direction?
Well, interesting you ask. There's a guy named Mark Devine, and Mark Devine is a retired Navy SEAL commander, and he trains Navy SEAL kids, and I train Navy SEAL kids. I train Air Force Special Warfare guys, and Mark has a book out called Unbeatable Mind, and another book called Staring Down the Wolf. And the wolf is any of those negative issues that want to drain you and consume your mind and steal your energy and your hope. So what are the different wolves that we would have? And he lists in his book 7 things to work on. And one of the things he teaches, which I've been working on now for about 5 years, and you dabble when you're younger, but it's on developing what we call a mind gym. Meaning I go to the physical gym to work out physically, but I also have a mind gym where I go work out mentally. So your question is, does it start in the morning? And what Mark teaches and what I do is the first thing I do when I get up in the morning, I want to take control of my mind. I don't want it to run just like a ticker tape that's out of control. So I do box breathing. And I don't know how many of your audience understand box breathing, but you can go to sealfit.com or Mark Devine. And box breathing is learning to discipline your breathing in a actual box. It's where, let's say, I'll inhale for 4 seconds, and I'll hold it for 4 seconds, which is across the top of the box. And then I'll exhale for 4 seconds, and then I'll hold my breath for 4 seconds, which is the bottom of the box, back to where I started.
Okay.
And so you learn to do 4 seconds or 5 seconds or 6 seconds. And when you do that, when you work on going inward, you can't do 2 things at once, which means I cannot think negative thoughts at the same time I'm working on my deep breathing. You can only do one at a time.
Gotcha.
Which means that you can reboot your thinking. You can reboot your emotions by taking control of your mind. And so we tell our special ops guys, you're coming down a rope under a helicopter in a firefight, and your heart's jacked up, and all your training goes out the window because you can't point the gun because you're shaking.
Mm-hmm. And
so how are you going to get control of your mind and your emotions so you can get back into your training and do what you're trained to do versus being out of control with fear and anxiety and panic, even though the bullets are flying all around you? And so we train our special ops guys. You can take control of your thinking and your emotions, first of all, with your breathing. And so we do these breathing disciplines, which then force everything in our mind to shut down because you can't do both things at once.
Right.
And then from there, you begin to have your mantra of speaking the things that are positive over yourself so that your mind begins to think on those positive things that you've programmed yourself to say over and over again, which, again, you can't think negative thoughts if you're thinking positive thoughts.
Makes total sense.
We then practice getting up in the morning, at lunchtime rebooting again, in the evening rebooting again, going over our day, reviewing our day, and staying focused on task in life versus whatever happens to run into our brains that day, whatever phone call comes, whatever negative something someone says to us, we don't let that come in and take root or plant itself in our brain. We cut it out by changing our breathing and then rebooting and starting again with the things that we have programmed that we want to think. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I've got a father-in-law that's a pilot, and he loves to fly because that's the one time that everything else goes out the window. He doesn't have time to think about anything else because he's flying that plane. I do some scuba diving. I find the same thing happens there. When I'm under the water and you've got all those things you've got to pay attention to, you don't have time to worry about the little things because you're really, really focused on the task at hand. And I think that box breathing is kind of in that same mindset where if you're focused on that, and you're not distracted by the goofy little silly things that come along on a Facebook post or maybe on a news headline on your feed on your telephone. Is that what you're telling me, that we just need to focus on that and make that the center of our thinking?
That's exactly it. It's learning how to mentally discipline your mind to stay on task and focus.
Now,
and therefore, you may be in that place and say, I'm not going to look at my Facebook because it's not part of my plan for today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be distracted. I'm going to stay on task. I'm going to stay focused in the zone that I want to be in, which is whatever it is you're trying to accomplish that month, that week, that day, that morning. And it's how to live purposefully versus whatever happens, and you hope for the best.
Now, there are going to be times when bad things happen to you. And you can't control the outside coming in. What happens, well, case in point, when you come down with the COVID-19 virus, in your brain, what were you thinking as you realized that you did have the virus?
I said, wow, I got the virus. Just another challenge in life.
Gotcha.
I'm going to make it. It's an easy day. It's not going to kill me. I've been through stuff before. I've been through sickness before. I know what to do. I'm an old paramedic. I've been around sick people. I know people who have died stupid. I've put them in body bags. I know people that have done wise things and helped their situation. I'm just not going to get rocked.
I gotcha.
I won't allow myself to get rocked.
Yeah. Robert,
because if I allow myself to get rocked, if I allow myself to get rocked, it doesn't help me. It doesn't help the people around me, and it drains my energy. I begin to feel tired and a headache, and I lose my focus because I've allowed those negative thoughts to take root in my head, and they drain me. So I may have negativity around me, but I can't let that negativity take over me.
Where do you, day-to-day basis, it's one thing to say that and try to be that person in the room it's the positive person. Where do you get your energy from? Where do you get your inspirations from when you're needing to be fed?
You know, fortunately, years ago, I cut negative people out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any negative friends. I say to them, you know, I like you, I love you, I'm for you, just want to spend time with you. You drain me. So I cut people out of my life, and you sort of become like the people you hang with. Birds of a feather flock together. And so monkey see, monkey do. So I only allow myself to be around people that are positive. I mean, I'm around people all the time,
mm-hmm.
but I don't let their thoughts get into my brain. And my friends are all positive. We are all people who have struggles, have sickness and kids and finances and issues, but we choose to say the glass is half full, it's not half empty. This is a lemon that's going to be sweet lemonade someday. We're going to find a way to win. I mean, I lost my house during the recession. You know, I've been through a divorce. I've had negative things happen in my life, but you just say to yourself, I can do this. And then I go to my friends and we talk, and I only have friends talk to me that are positive people. And you say, that's sort of severe. Well, you know, I've lived long enough with people putting their thoughts in my brain and putting their way of life into my lifestyle, saying, why don't you be like me? And I say, because your fruit is negative. You know, you don't bear good fruit. So I like you, I'm for you, but I just don't want to bear the same fruit that you do. So I want to bear fruit like these people.
Gotcha.
And I've changed who I live with or around, who I talk to, and let my mind.
I gotcha. We haven't even scratched the surface on the book Beyond Average. We've just been chatting here. I'm assuming that the book Beyond Average has something to do with what we've been chatting with this morning, Robert.
You know, I wanted to write a book that would encourage young people, or my age people too, that you don't have to live an average, mediocre life. You can live bigger and have more of a life than you think. And the story is this. I was adopted into a Mensa family. My dad's a Phi Beta Kappa out of Stanford, with Stanford 4.0 law school. My mom's a 4.0 out of UCLA. Sister's a 4.0 out of SC. And I got adopted in this family, and I didn't feel, for whatever reason, that I had the self-worth value of my parents. And so I floundered around until I got into high school. When I got into high school, I had some poor self-worth and some issues and blah, 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 blah. And anyway, my water polo coach came to me and said, "Hey, Robert, you're gifted." And the snakes in my head said, "No, I'm not. I'm just an average guy trying to get by with a 2.0. And he said to me, no, you have more talent in you than you know. And he says, "Robert, hard work can beat better talent." And I was surrounded by really good talent. We put 2 guys on the Olympic water polo team from my high school. We had 5 All-Americans my senior year, and I'm just an average 3-year swimmer. And he said to me, "If you'll just focus and learn to work hard and stay disciplined, you can beat better talent." And I didn't have faith in myself, but I got faith in what he had faith in me for. And if he had faith in me, then I had faith in me, and I latched onto him. I said, "If you think I can, I'm going to do what you say." And so I succeeded in high school far beyond everyone's expectations for a kid that just started swimming and playing polo for 3 years. And my coach said, "Don't you see, Robert, you're not a loser. You're not average. You're gifted." And I went, "Okay." And he was parenting me.
Yeah.
He was fathering me. He was speaking into my life. So that when I became a beach lifeguard at 15 and a half instead of 16, because he said to me, "Hey, listen, when they have the beach tryouts, you ought to go try out." I said, "I'm underage." He said, "Go down and see what you can do, but practice before you go." And so I asked all these friends who were beach lifeguards, how do the swells work, and how do the tides work, and how's this thing going to work? And on this cold March morning, what am I going to face? Anyway, I went and worked out at this beach by myself, trying to figure this thing out, because I was going to swim against UCLA guys and SC guys and San Diego State guys who were all going to try out for beach lifeguards. And what happened was, I did what the lifeguards told me. I did what my water polo coach told me. And when we had that tryout that morning, of the 50 guys, I got 2 firsts and a third. And I was the underage guy. And I beat all these other guys because I body surfed faster swimmers and blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Anyway, when I was interviewed, the lifeguard chief said, "What's the deal with you?" And I said, "Well, I trained. I came down here for a couple months and wired this beach, so I understood what was going to happen if it happened." And he said, "Okay, you're too young." I said, "Got it." And he called me on a Thursday after a Saturday tryout, and he said, "Would you like to be a lifeguard?" And I said, "I can't. I'm underage. I'll come back next year." And he said, "No, we're so impressed. We went to the city manager and got a waiver for you. We're going to bring you on as a 15-and-a-half-year-old and keep yourself close to us." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, you're the youngest guy I've ever been hired." And my swim team and my lifeguard friends, my water polo coach high-fived me and said, "See, you went out and worked hard, strategized, and you beat the better talent." And the light went off inside of me that if I wanted something bad enough, I really would go after it. And I would train, and I would figure things out but most of the time I was just lazy. So with that, these guys then said, "Why don't you be a pararescueman?" And I said, again, with snakes in my head, "I'm just average. I mean, I'm not a special ops candidate. I mean, look at me. I'm a little guy. There's some really good athletes out there." And this pararescue guy said, "Robert, if you'll just do what I say, and you'll do it for 6 months, and you just focus and cut all the crap out of your life and show me the calluses on your hands, and you do what I tell you, I'm telling you, you can do this." And again, I didn't have any faith in myself. I thought I was just this average guy, and I was so afraid of quitting and so afraid of getting in the Air Force and being told to quit because I was lousy. So I trained in fear. And when I got in, we had 150 guys in our class. And when we finally graduated, with rollbacks in the class, I think we graduated 15, I think 7 in my class. and they made me team leader. And I said, this is amazing. And my sergeant said to me, hey, Robert, you know what? You're not average. And you got snakes in your head. You're a leader. And I said, I'm not a leader. I'm just trying to keep my head down. He said, no, you're lazy, and you're a leader, and you need to grow up and use the talents that God's given you. And I just had another wake-up thing like, really? And he said, yeah, you're the leader of this team now. And
Very
so
cool.
I grew up in the Air Force because they just demanded that I become a man versus a punk kid getting a master's degree in irresponsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that kind of stuff in you, and then it breeds a confidence that, wow, there may be more in me than my mom or my dad or anybody thought was there. And the same thing happened with the other guys that made it to my team. When we graduated, we looked around and said, why are we the guys here? Because all the good guys should be here. I mean, the real studly guys, they should be here, but they all quit. Why did we not quit? Because we were scrappy, like the book by Angela Duckworth, Grit. We had learned how to fight and not be overwhelmed mentally. So we were all amazed that these average kids made it and the really good kids quit.
Wow.
When I got out of the military, I read a Sports Illustrated magazine, and it talked about the toughest endurance race in the world, that only crazy people do it. And I read it, and it was something that was going to be called an Ironman. And all these people, I said, look at this thing. This thing's nuts. And they go, nobody in their right mind should do that. And I said, I can do that. And they said, just shut up. And I said, no, I can do that. And this was year 3. Year 3 was in Honolulu, the last year of the Ironman being in Honolulu. Next year it moved to Kona, where it's been ever since. And back then there was only 100 of us. I rented a bike. We drank some beers. You bring your A game, but, show up and see what you got.
Mm-hmm.
And so 100 of us showed up in Honolulu, and wouldn't you know it, everybody had told me that I couldn't do it was wrong, and I did it. And when I got done, people said, how'd you do that? And I wanted to say, well, my high school coach taught me how to build confidence. He taught me how to believe in myself. He taught me how to tackle challenges. And they didn't get it. And I just said, I just did it. And so most of my adult life, I've been trying to help kids who are knuckleheads like me believe that there's more in them than they know. They just don't know how to get it out of them. And there's a cost to try to get it out of you, where all your friends get in your head and say, what are you doing? That's stupid, or you don't need to do that, or who are you trying to be, or what are you trying to prove? I mean, you got issues, and you just go, I'm going to block that out, and I'm going to say, I want to see if I can do this, whether it's playing the piano or learning a language or traveling or, math or spelling bee. Whatever you want to do, there's kids that need that power of one person who steps in their life and believes in them and says, breathe, get control, breathe. You can do this. Don't freak out.
Yeah.
And for 40 years, I've been trying to help men and women attain goals that everyone around them says they can't attain. And it's been really fun to watch people get these wins and look you in the eye and start crying and go, I did it. And I say, of course you did it. It was in you all the time. And they just don't know what to say. So I have a wonderful life because I get to go around encouraging people that their best days are ahead, and their decisions, though, are determining their destiny. And if they would get rid of all the negative people in their lives and begin to focus on the positive things, they can have a really good life, because there's at least 2 people in each of us. There's the person who we are, that we live, then there's the other person in us who dreams. And he dreams, I wish I could. I wish I could try. I wonder if. And that person never gets encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
So you just be realistic and don't do anything, Yeah. And we get to come along, these Navy SEAL kids or special warfare kids or handicapped kids or sick kids and say to them, don't let this thing limit you. And we get to see them grow up and mature and have these healthy lives, and they just thank you and hug you and say, you changed my life. And I go, I know, those guys changed my life too. It wasn't like I'm some hot guy. Somebody did it to me, and I'm happy to pass it on.
Well, Robert Owens, I tip my hat to you. I tip my hat to that coach all those years ago. There are men and women out there that every day do that. Look at those kids, and we say kids really. You never really grow up when you're talking about trying to do the type of thing you're talking about, where you let that inner person in you out, the dreamer. Here's to everybody that says you can do it if you want to do it bad enough and you're willing to work hard enough for it. Because I had some mentors growing up, and those people, you never forget those people, ever. So
you never forget it. Never
Excellent.
forget it.
Robert,
Let me just share one last.
Absolutely, I've got all day.
One last little story for you.
Yeah,
You do?
I'm here all day.
Well, that's nice you have all day. I'm sure your listeners don't. But listen, my dad died at 101.
Oh wow!
And at 91, my dad said to me, "Hey, son, I want to die at home. Will you just come home and live with me? And I just want to be around you."
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to the family. I moved home and moved into my dad at 91. And he's, Dad, what are you doing? He goes, I'm just cruising. Mom's dead. Don't really have much to do here. I still read the paper, read books. And I said, Dad, you still have a great life ahead of you. And he goes, all right, sure. Anyway, I said to him, Dad, you can't get out of your chair. And he goes, yeah, I know. I said, because you sit in your chair so long that you've lost your thighs and they've atrophied. The more you read, the weaker you get. And he goes, I know, but you're here so you can get me out of the chair. And I said, no, Dad, you can't call me every moment to get you out of that stupid chair.
Mm-hmm.
If you want your chair, you're going to have to earn it. And he goes, like what? I said, I'm getting rid of the chair, Dad, unless you get your act together and work on getting out of the chair on your own. And he said, well, how am I going to do that? I said, get up. So I got him up and I got him, put his hands on his cane, He put both hands on his cane. And I said, I want you to give me a little squat. And he gave this little 2-inch deal, I said, come on, Dad, get a little bit deeper than that. And he goes, I can't. And I said, well, okay, I want you to give me 10 of whatever you got. And he gave me 10. I said, we're going to work on your thighs. And then at lunchtime, I said, Dad, give me 10 more. And then at dinner time, Dad, before dinner, give me 10 more. And I started working with him. I said, go deeper. Go deeper. I want a full L squat out of you, Dad. And I'd take him for walks down the street. And people would say, what are you doing to your dad? I'd say, Dad, give me 25. And he would stop in the street and hold onto a car, and then he'd put his hands on the cane, and he'd look around with his hat on, and other elderly people were looking at him, and he'd knock out 25 squats.
Oh, wow.
And I'd say, sweet, Dad. And he'd go, yeah, check that out. And so we'd go places, and I said, give me 25. And they'd say, that's elder abuse. Leave your dad alone. I said, no, he likes his chair. And he wants his chair, he's going to earn it. So the moral of the story is when my dad died at 101, he was stronger at 91 than he was at 90, meaning that there was a capability still inside of him at his age, but he had gone ahead and just said, I'm going to be like all the other elderly folks, and I'm just going to get weak and frail, and that's just my plight in life. And I said, Dad, that's not your plight in life. You can go out strong. You're going to go out. He said, okay. I said, next thing we're going to do is work on your balance, because you lose your balance when you stand up. He goes, yeah, I know. So I got him a ping pong thing, and with a ping pong ball, I said, can you do this and just bounce that ping pong ball? And he would, 5, 6, 7. Good, Dad. Okay, give me 10. He'd do that. I said, now can you do it and lift 1 foot off the ground? And so he got under 1 foot, and he'd try 2, 3, and miss. They'd lift that right or left foot up, 2, 3, miss. Pretty soon he got to doing 10, 20 on 1 foot, and then 10, 20 on the other foot. So then I said to him, Dad, do you like this? He goes, yeah, I'm not as dizzy. I don't lose my balance as much. So I said, now I want you to take that ping pong paddle and do that ball from right to left in front of you on 1 foot. So he had to turn his head sideways. And he did that, and pretty soon he was showing off to all of his friends, look what I can do. I can stand on 1 foot. I can bend over. I can do this ping pong ball, because his inner ear came back, because he hadn't used it.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I thought that was gone forever. I said, no, Dad, inactivity, atrophy will steal all your stuff.
Yeah.
You use your brain, so you still got it, but you let everything else go. And so he said, this is amazing. So I put some other seniors on the same kind of program. You want to get your balance back? You want to be healthy? You want to be strong? And all these seniors begin to come back because they just had written themselves off but they were stuck at that age, meaning that at every age, there's still more capability in us unless we listen to society and dumb down our lives to what they tell us. And that's how we should live, I think, and have people encourage us to live like that.
Great advice. We have people listening to Sunny Side Up that are 18. Actually, we have people listening to Sunny Side Up that are 12 and 13 years old, but I also have people listening to Sunny Side Up that are literally in their 80s and 90s. So here's to all the kids of all ages and your motivation. You lifted my spirits up because age-wise, I'm right behind you, and I'm kind of considered the old guy of the show, where I've got my son and my soon-to-be daughter-in-law doing the young end of the millennial Gen Xer curve, and here we are as baby boomers.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel better now than I did 20 years ago because I do a lot of working out too. So I understand exactly what you're saying. It never stops as long as you don't hurt yourself doing it. Don't be 70 years old, run off and try to do a whole bunch of stuff without seeking some advice, though.
Thank you very much. I'll try that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Robert, I got to tell you too. I am in Enid, Oklahoma, home of Vance Air Force Base. Have you ever been here before?
You know what? I graduated from ORU.
Oh, okay, excellent. There you go.
I did my time in Oklahoma.
That's amazing. I didn't realize that. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've done Oklahoma. I like Oklahoma. I like Enid. I like Oklahoma City and Tulsa and all of Bixby and Kingston. I like it all. Holy cow.
And poor Leaves out there in California now, wishing she was here. By the way, it's 31 degrees in Enid today. I don't know what happened, but
I am so sorry.
Robert, I appreciate you, man.
Just continue to be the continual encourager that I'm sure you are in your radio program, to remind these people that they have a great life if they choose to make their lemons into lemonade, and it's a choice. And I say this: winners hang with winners, losers hang with losers, and excuse-minded people always find excuse-minded friends to give them excuses and let them play the victim. Everybody's got issues. Everybody's got problems. It's our job to look at life differently. You know, I had a heart attack 6 months ago after I ran 7 marathons in 7 days, and people said, "Oh my God!" And now you got the virus. Yeah, well, life has issues. Either you deal with them right, or they deal with you.
Yeah.
And life's just going to have issues. So you continue to be that encourager there to all those folks.
Robert Hamilton Owens, we will with Sunny Side Up, absolutely. If you want to find out more about Robert, you can go to roberthamiltonowens.com. You want to find out about his book we're talking about. It's called Beyond Average, and you can get that on Amazon. Just look amazon.com, Beyond Average, Developing Your Self-Principle. And it'll change your life, I'm telling you. Hopefully we've made a difference, put a smile on your face, giving you some great advice on the Sunny Side Up podcast. This show, 38th podcast for Sunny Side Up. And I think I've said this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I promise next week that Brandon and Angel and I will be back together, but I can't promise you that. I promise that you'll have episode 39 next week. How about that? If you want to find out more about Sunny Side Up, you can always email us. That is sunnysideuppodcast@storiesandscoopsmedia.com. Send us an email. Click to the links on the podcast. Share us, like us, and tell your friends about us, because we're making new friends all the time, and I believe Robert and I have just become friends as well. Bless you. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.